was looking to find some space. For those of you who've not met me, my name is Richard Lambden. I work for HPCA. I head up our client engagement team, what we call our training solutions team, and I will talk to you a little bit about the programs that we offer in case they're kind of interest to you. But really the purpose of this call was to share some of the work that's been going on, not just within Project Futures, but within our organisation as well. Some of you might have listened to the podcast that Mike Gray, who is the Portfolio Capability and Resourcing Manager at Project Futures. Some of you might have listened to the podcast that he and I did a little while ago. But we the aim is to share really what's going on within the NHS and the wider healthcare sector around data, and kind of what benefits we can gain from that. So, as I say, there will be plenty of time to ask questions. We would like to make this interactive. I know that Mike has been able to access a plug and some Wi-Fi. So, Mike, welcome. How are you?
Hi. Yeah, not too bad, thanks, Richard. How are you?
Yeah, really good indeed. Remind me, you're at an event today. What are you up to?
Yeah, so I'm at NHS Confed Expo in Liverpool. So it's a 2-day event. It was opened by Amanda Pritchard. Yeah. And essentially it's there's 7,500 people here, and every kind of NHS representative here. So it's the first time I've been to it, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect in terms of its Wi-Fi and seating arrangements. So I've been spending the last 40 minutes just trying to find somewhere to sit. So I'm currently now I gave up because there was nowhere at all, and I'm currently outside. But it's a lovely day in Liverpool, and there's other people having their lunch and things, and so I'm pleased to be at least here and part of this today. So
fantastic. Well, it seems very apt that you're at an NHS event, and when really you and I are here to talk about the importance of digital skills and how they're kind of transforming the NHS and how data is kind of playing a part in that. I know that you had a few slides that you kind of wanted to use to set the scene. Do you have access to those?
I don't, I'm afraid. No, I'm having to work. So I'm having to work from my mobile phone at the moment, which I know is not ideal. But if you've got access to those, I think I shared them with Abby. I'm happy for you to kind of show those, and I'll just give those that are on the call today a bit of a backstory. Before I do that, can I just check, is this being recorded, Richard? Are you able to do that from your end?
Yeah. It is being recorded already, sir. So
yeah, we're smashing. That's excellent. That's great. Smashing.
So, hopefully everybody can see, because somebody just give me a thumbs up. Can they see the screens that are the slides that are on the screen? I'm just opening it up in a slide view for people, so it's just gone into thinking mode. So yeah. So let's go from the beginning. Okay. Okay. Can everybody see that? Okay.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yep. Thank you very much. Thanks for the feedback. So, Mike, obviously we're here to talk about various things, but do you want to kind of set the scene from your perspective? I've kind of shared the fact that you and I had a webinar. A podcast, a few weeks back, but
we did, which has been.
When you want to move on a slide, then I'll kind of press.
Yeah,
press
lovely.
Forward.
That's great. Thanks very much, Richard. Yeah, we did a podcast. It's been really well received. We'll put a link in the chat if Abby or anyone else that's viewed that can share that in the chat. So yeah, I work for Health Education England. I've done for 4.5 years. More recently. Launched a number of project-related apprenticeships, one of which is data analytics. And Richard touched on it earlier, actually, that the conference I'm attending today, everyone's talking about digital enablement, digital confidence, digital literacy, and what it means and how we can harness that intelligence to inform our decision-making, essentially. So it's really at the forefront of everything that the NHS is currently looking at. and NHS Project Futures. If you go to the next slide for us, Richard. So today is really a kind of cornerstone of a conversations start around data, and we're working in partnership with CambridgeSpark, who have a fantastic pathway for those that are interested in data. So whether you're thinking about this for the first time, or whether you're more mature in your data journey, then there's a learning pathway that's open to you through CambridgeSpark, and we procured them through NHS Project Futures. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's great. So there's a couple of learning objectives that we're wanting you folks to take away from today. Obviously, understand why it's important, why it's a necessary skill set. Discover more about the learning pathways that are open to you, so that you leave this session feeling more informed about what's involved in this apprenticeship, and you're clear on how you express your interest, and that'll be captured through one of the links that's available through CambridgeSpark. And then know who to go to for support is obviously very important, because we don't want you to feel like this is just up to you to kind of take that conversation forward with your line manager. We're here to support you through that. Next slide, please. That's great. Yeah, if you just work through those. So we're going to have a conversation, Richard and I, on the importance of building NHS capability around digital through apprenticeships. And as I said, I work for HPCA, and we work in workforce transformation and building workforce for the future, and data plays a really important part of that. So whether you're a frontline service or whether you're an ALB such as HE, then data will apply to you, and there's so much out of it, so much data out there. It's often what data can we use to make those decisions that lead to a positive patient outcome. So apprenticeships can be accessed by anyone at any time, and I think Richard and I touched on this with our apprenticeship, and hopefully that'll give you folks a bit more of a flavour for where this has all come about. But certainly the work that NHS Project Futures is focusing on is around digital capabilities and project management capabilities. And as project managers, whether you're new to it or whether you've been in it a while, having digital capabilities that you can draw on can really help deliver a successful project. And I think we're now seeing a real transition to project managers needing digital capabilities. That's always kind of been the case. It's moving at a faster pace now, and it's moving at a pace that we need to keep up with. And one way of learning data and what to do with it is through this apprenticeship. And Richard, you've obviously had been in apprenticeships a while, and you've worked with various NHS organisations in data. What's your thoughts on the future of and the importance of data in health?
Yeah, no, it's in a second, if I may, I'll kind of pull up a separate slide deck that probably kind of refers to this. But what we're tending to find is that at whatever point you work within the organisation, whatever your role is, you probably are touching data in some shape or form, whether it be patient records, whether it be statistics on health and safety, whether it be analysis around particular diseases, whether it be about procuring PPE or medical equipment or drugs for your part of the NHS. Everybody touches data in some shape or form, whether it be in a simplistic spreadsheet, whether it be in a complicated database, whether you're doing some high level data science. And there's a kind of a great phrase. I was lucky enough to go to an Analyst X conference about a month back, and the chair of that was basically saying that his vision is that everybody within the NHS is able to get insights from data in terms of whatever you're doing, be able to get more insights from data to enable you to make better informed decisions, which in turn will achieve better patient outcomes, which is obviously what you're all driven, you're all vocational, you're all driven to provide that on behalf of your customer, which is obviously the patient. And taking it a stage further, there was a very powerful statement made, which is simply data saves lives. And that kind of really resonated with me in terms of it kind of brings it home to, the great work that the NHS always does, but it's particularly done over the challenge of the last 2 years with the pandemic. And I always say in these calls, as an individual and a member of the public, thank you so much for everything that you do in the NHS. But that kind of data saves lives, for me, Mike, just seems to very simplistic, get to the nub of the reason.
Yeah.
Sometimes data can be a bit dry, Mike, can be a little bit scary and a bit boring, but actually it's so valuable in terms of improving patient outcomes and saving lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the slide you're sharing at the moment, that's kind of something I'll talk about shortly. But I think in the NHS, I think there's still a view that data is just spreadsheets, it's Excel sheets, when actually there's a whole host of other tools and software that people can draw on. The Office 365 packages like Python and Power BI are just two examples of that. And people are starting to use Tableau to produce database dashboards to interpret and so that decisions can be made really quickly at the point of entry. So I think you're right on the money with some of the things you've said. And
the interesting thing you're saying there, Mike, about the Power BI and Tableau and there's Looker, and I think some trusts use QuickSense, and there's all sorts of different products that are used. One of the things that we kind of are very big on in the programs, the training that we deliver is the storytelling. It's the visualization of the data. We all report into somebody, and normally when you're kind of sharing information with colleagues and with stakeholders, they want a kind of an overview, they want a snapshot. They don't always want to get down into the detail and then have to trawl through lines and lines on a spreadsheet to work out what's going on. So that ability to very nicely present it in a nice kind of slide like you've got here in some ways, but a nice visual that tells the audience what's going on, so that they can make informed decisions about where their part of the NHS is going and what changes need to be made and what services need to be procured and so on and so forth is so important. So yeah, it's the year of digital in the NHS, isn't it?
It is. It really is. And this is one of the drivers, one of the key drivers that's pushing forward the NHS agenda around healthcare project and change association, which is it's in its infancy at the moment. And the slide that Richard's showing you now is just the kind of functional areas of that. But data forms a really important part of the association. And I think part of the message today, if you show the next slide, Richard, there's a whole host of other resources that you can access that sit outside of the things that Richard will be talking to you about with their digital apprenticeships, that really give you a blend of learning options. And these are all learning activities that you can do to enhance your understanding and application of the learning. So it's not just about going on an apprenticeship and that's it, you're done. You're going to be supported from the very start. So we'll give you access to the NHS Project and Change Capability Framework, which is all about the NHS. Took 2.5 years to write that, but that'll give you some broad areas to focus on and to look at how you what does that career pathway look like for someone who works with data. And we've looked at the DDAT framework as part of that. But there's also events that we run. We've been running those for a good 1.5 years now, and they've been really, really well received. It's meant that in a short time, we built up a project community of over 2,000 people in the NHS. They're only NHS people, like those on the call today. And we've got another event happening in September, which is all about digital transformation and digital enablement. So if you are interested in coming to that one, we're just lining up and refining the agenda, but we hope to have CambridgeSpark on that one as well, doing a session. So do come to that one. It's free. It's all virtually done. It's quite interactive, so it's not just sitting behind your laptop and listening to people. We do like you to get involved and take some really key outcomes from that. If you are interested in going to that one, if you just email the NHS Project Futures at he.nhs.uk address, and Christine, who's on the call, will be able to put that in the chat, and just address that email to Christine. She'll be able to add you to the distribution list. But that's a real opportunity to look at data from all areas of the NHS, frontline to NHS Digital. So it's the full sort of end-to-end side of it. If you just go on the next slide, so that's the framework. With the framework, you get a self-assessment as well, which is really easy, and that self-assessment will be done just by you and shown by you, so no one else will have access to that. So if you want to have a template for that one, then you can, and you can take that to your PDP and your appraisals, and the apprenticeship that is offered by CambridgeSpark is aligned to that capability framework and the self-assessment. So the outputs from that will say, yes, this is one of your cornerstones of your competency in your role. This is, you're dealing with data. The recommendations are, look at this apprenticeship, and that's when the conversation can start. We can, both myself and CambridgeSpark, can support you in those conversations. So I think that's the career pathway piece. Some of you might have seen that through the one for government. So a lot of what we do is aligned to civil service and government functional standards. So it's all aligned to that, as well as the APM. For those that know the APM, we've got corporate membership for you folks. So if you are part of the NHS and you want membership to the APM, we're going to be sending some comms out on that in our next newsletter. So you'll have access to events and discounts on courses and all sorts of stuff. So that's really a great resource to have access to. But hopefully it'll just give you a bit more of a broader area to look at. It's not just about project management. There's all sorts of roles you can consider, and data feeds into all of those. And it opens doors, does data, certainly from the conversations I've been having with people for the last year and a half. Richard and Abby from CambridgeSpark are part of those conversations. But and here today at the NHS Confed Expo, everyone's talking about data. They've got people walking around with VR headsets on, and Google Health are here, and there's all sorts of amazing tech going on. It's just, how do we feel confident, capable in all of that, and this standard can certainly start that for you. So thank you for that, Richard. There's an email that Richard's sharing if you want to get in touch about the Compass event in September, and we've got another event happening in November, and then we've got annual festival events, which are available actually on our YouTube channel on demand. So if you do want to look at those, we've got over 200 hours worth of learning, and I'm sure Christina can put the link for that in the chat. And that's an open source, so anyone can look at and listen and get involved in that one. So thanks very much.
Excellent. Okay, thank you, Mike. I'm going to kind of switch presentation, and
yes.
If again, if somebody be good enough to let me know when they can kind of see that. But Mike, I'll bring you in the same fashion, I think, in terms of the kind of conversation. So beautifully positioned as always. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the apprenticeships that we offer for the NHS through NHS Project Futures, but it is any part of the NHS, by the way. So we've literally got people in kind of GP practices, in CCGs, in NHS England, in NHS Analyst X, in NHS X as was, all sorts of parts of the business, as well as numerous trusts up and down the country are taking advantage of these programs. So I'm going to walk you kind of through them. But in case you haven't heard of us, CambridgeSpark is a edtech company, and we specialise purely in the whole data science field. So everything from entry-level kind of data citizen through to very technical machine learning programs using data science and AI, artificial intelligence. And we've been going since 2016, so we're very well versed in the space, have lots of your colleagues on programs, as I said earlier, up and down the country. But we're the only organisation in the country that are purely dedicated to delivering data and data-related apprenticeship programs, and we're obviously delighted to work with all aspects of the NHS. This is our full suite of programs. We're going to talk about two specifically today, which are the Data Analyst and the Digital Development Lead, which are programs that we've identified in conjunction with Mike and his colleagues in NHS Project Futures that really kind of seem to support the work that you do as project managers in your day-to-day work. But just to kind of share in case you have colleagues that it might be appropriate for. So we start with a program called Data Citizen, which is using the Data Technician Apprenticeship Standard, which is really for people who perhaps are using data, probably using it predominantly in Excel or Google Sheets or something of that nature, but want to get a little bit more confident with using it, want to get better insights from the data sets, want to tell the story with it a bit more, and kind of, as Mike said, using things like Power BI, Microsoft Product and Tableau and things like that, being able to visualize and represent that data better. So it's a great entry point, and we literally have people that are in medical roles, we have people that are facilitators, healthcare administrators, people who work in HR, marketing, L&D. We've even got some junior doctors on that particular program. That feeds into the Data Analyst, which I'm going to cover today in a bit more detail. So if you're starting to work with data, predominantly in your role, and you want to be more efficient, so you want to perhaps augment what you're doing in Excel, and you want to automate it using a programming language such as Python and SQL to better able to present that data, but also be more efficient in the way that you're actually working, then the Data Analyst program could be the one for you. And then that leads into the Level 7 program, which is our Data Science and AI. So it's equivalent of a master's. So to give you a real example that Mike and I chatted about on the podcast last month, during COVID, there were people that were building models that looked at the vaccine take-up. They looked at age demographics. They looked at things like weather patterns, days of the weeks, and they were able to build a model that predicted how many people might turn up at a GP surgery, might turn up at A&E, presenting with symptoms of kind of COVID. And that obviously played a huge part in enabling resources to be in the right place, whether that be people, whether that be PPE, whether it be ventilators, drugs, and so on and so forth. It's a real life example of how the NHS used machine learning to better deliver a patient outcome. Of course, the other things that machine learning is used for is to better understand diseases. Obviously, COVID is the obvious one, but other diseases as well. And again, improve patient outcomes, improve longevity of life, and those sorts of things. So you might think, why is data related to me? Well, as I said earlier, we all kind of touch it, and we all have opportunities to use it. So there is, if you're interested in doing the Data Analyst program, when I talk it through, there is a career progression for you if you want to kind of go on into the data science space. The other program that I think is so relevant for project managers is our Digital Development Lead program, which utilises a standard called the Business Analyst. And it's really for people who run projects and implement digital and data, or looking to implement projects that are digital and data driven. And as Mike said, digital transformation type projects, change management, improving process. We're talking to a lot of trusts at the moment who are implementing Epic and other digitalized patient record systems, for example. I'm sure some of you have been involved in those sorts of projects. This particular program will give you that kind of business acumen, but give you that data twist as well, and help you get those, make sure you're working with clean information and being able to make informed decisions off the back of that. So if you're a project manager or a product manager, business change manager, digital transformation manager, that sort of role or job title within the NHS, then that program could very well be good for you. I said it earlier, and I'm I can't say it enough. That data saves lives. It was kind of, and this strategy I think came out only yesterday. So the CEO of NHS Digital, Simon Bolton, I saw literally on Twitter and LinkedIn yesterday that the data saves lives strategy is a significant milestone enabling us to deliver the digital transformation of the NHS, where data and technology support a health and care service fit for the future. Better access to data will be vital for the NHS recovery, and patient trust and confidence must be central to this. So that's your chief exec of NHS Digital saying that only yesterday, in line with the data saves lives strategy that has been worked on and published across the NHS. So, it's not me saying it; it's your business that's kind of saying that. And the long-term plan is really to get all aspects of the NHS, whether it be patients, whether it be clinicians, whether it be people in support services, working together to enable, have a digitally enabled future. And it is a key priority. I said earlier, it's the year of the digital professional, 2022. That the NHS is running the Digital and Data Awards in conjunction with the Federation of Informatic Professionals, which is fantastic. And I know that some of the people that we work with are being nominated for those awards, and it's awesome to see people getting recognised for the work that they're actually doing. These slides can be shared with you afterwards, and if you're not familiar with any of those initiatives or plans, then the links will obviously take you kind of into those. But it really is a key focus for the NHS at the moment. And this was just somebody that's on a programme at the moment. So the NHS is a data-rich environment, developing a data-driven approach to healthcare and driving data mindsets across teams, departments, and also by the clinicians themselves is the driving force of how we are advancing clinical care. Mike, I'm just going to pause there before I go into specific programmes. Is there anything that kind of jumps out at you from that? And again, it may be, picking up some themes from the conference you're at the moment, but anything you want to add to that before I kind of go into the detail of the programmes?
I think you've just said a lot actually that resonates, that I'm hearing from this conference. I've been to a couple of sessions already this morning, and there's a lot around ICSs, integrated care systems, which I'm sure some of you on the call give a thumbs up if that's the case, that are looking at this, because that's going to potentially transform the way in which care services partner up. And part of that process is looking at how do we improve the flow of information and the flow of data between integrated care systems.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a key part, as well as what you just mentioned from NHS Digital's chief executive. And Amanda Pritchard mentioned it in her opening speech this morning about how do we make the system more effective. And part of that is looking at using data and technology to really drive home some of the inefficiencies that still exist, but also how do we still gain more information for less effort, and that can be enhanced through data. So no, that's great, that, Richard.
I think the other thing that's really interesting, one of the other partners that we work with on our Level 7 programme is HDR UK, and that's obviously the health data research kind of trusted in research environments, and the fact that they have been able to, as has Analyst X as a wider community, been able to pull together like-minded people within the NHS to share best practice, but share data sets in a safe environment so you can analyse what's going on in different trusts with different diseases, and kind of spot the trends and spot the drugs that work the best, and so on and so forth. It's just such fantastic work that's going to have a huge impact in terms of what goes on in the future, and getting every kind of ounce of value out of the kind of scarce pounds of money that obviously is allocated to the NHS. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the apprenticeships themselves. And Abby in my team will post some links in the chat facility for people who kind of are interested and want a little bit more information. But if you're not familiar with an apprenticeship, I've been in the sector for about 13 years. And certainly when I started, it was mainly targeted at school and college leavers. Often people who, for whatever reason, didn't want to go on to further higher education, and typically people might be doing a trade or learning a trade. Since the apprenticeship levy came in 2017, they've very much more been seen as a workforce development tool. So the vast majority of people doing apprenticeships now are existing members of staff of the organisation who are looking to reskill or upskill themselves in the furtherance of their career. I have to say, I haven't come across somebody aged 100 on an apprenticeship yet. The minimum age is 16. We've had somebody in their 70s doing an apprenticeship, which is absolutely fantastic. You're never too old to learn, but it is literally open to anybody as long as they are in full-time in employment and obviously employed by the NHS, and they're kind of doing a relevant role. There's some key requirements. As I said, you need to be employed, and you need to be employed in a relevant role. When I say employed, you could be on a fixed-term contract, but you're employed by a relevant part of the NHS. You need to be doing a job that's kind of relevant to the particular apprenticeship that you're interested in, because it's very much about learning some new skills and applying them in the workplace. It's not just an academic qualification, it's very much a work-based qualification. We do need to ensure that people have got decent English and maths, and that's kind of measured by having a level 2 type qualification, whether that be English or maths, or if you don't have those certificates available, then we can embed something called a functional skills for you so that you can still do the program. Clearly, you need to be learning some new skills. So if you've already got, I'm going to use a silly example, but let's say you've already got an MSc in data science, then you would already have that knowledge and skills. So the funding rules talk about substantial new learning. So, the whole point is you're going to learn some new stuff. So whilst you need to be in a relevant role, you would still learn some new things, and that would be of value both to you and to the role that you're doing. And you need to understand that this is a work-based qualification, so there is a time commitment. It's about to change actually from August, but essentially, a period of your time each week, which could be roughly around about 6 hours, will be devoted to your apprenticeship, whether that be attending a workshop with us to teach you the new skills, or perhaps putting them into practice, building your portfolio, doing some reflective learning. So you do need to be mindful, and certainly your line managers would need to be mindful that there is a time commitment, because it is predominantly done during the working hours. And we obviously have to, not obviously, but we have to evidence that as a training provider when we kind of put you forward for your final grade. So I'm going to talk about the two level 4 programs. If you're not familiar with the education system in this country, then that's kind of equivalent to a foundation degree. So the first year or two at university. So they're quite a good degree of academic rigor behind them, as well as lots of practical application you'll be able to put into the workplace. I'm going to talk about our digital development lead and the data analyst kind of programs. And the digital development lead, in many ways, I think it's a new program that we're delighted to launch with NHS Project Futures. We had our first cohort in May, and our next cohort is starting in July, and then in September. And to me, it just seems to really fit with the role that you do as project managers, because it's building on those skills that you already have, those great kind of organizational and time management skills, and giving it a digital and a business focus using the business analyst standard. You can also see that we, through our partnership with NHS Leadership Academy, we're able to embed the Edward Jenner program. So the NHS is always looking for the next leaders for the organisation. So you get the added value of being able to do the Edward Jenner program as part of our apprenticeships. And you can see it's kind of, if you look on the right hand side there, that explains some of the topics that are covered in the curriculum. So things like emerging technologies in digital and data, having a digital growth mindset, business analysis and problem solving, data-driven decision making. You really see process modeling for digital transformation, the sorts of topics that we're trying to help you leverage to give you that kind of real business acumen and make your projects even more successful than I'm sure there already are. And in every program that we offer, we always have some sort of storytelling and presentation type module, and that's where the Power BI and Tableau kind of comes in. And we always have an ethics module as well. See, GDPR and the way that you use data is so important. So that's always built into our programs. Now, if you're not familiar with the apprenticeship, to constitute an apprenticeship, as I say, it is a work-based qualification. So you learn some things, you put it into practice, you learn some more, plus you apply it, you learn from your mistakes and you move on. So this isn't like going on a short course for 3 days and getting a certificate at the end of it. It is a structured program, which in this case takes about 14 months, and we all learn at slightly different paces, but roughly kind of 14 months. And then there's something called an endpoint assessment at the end, which takes about 8 to 12 weeks, where we in the NHS hand you over to an external organisation to basically assess your capability and give you a pass merit distinction grade. You'll get, not only will you get a kind of an official qualification from the Institute for Apprenticeships, you also get a Cambridge Spark certificate as well, as kind of proof of you successfully achieving the programme. You'll be delighted to know that it's all delivered virtually, so you've got no travel, which I really like in terms of the inclusivity, because those of you that kind of got caring responsibilities or perhaps might work different days or not quite, work a typical 37.5 we tend to use Microsoft Teams, and the workshops, which are the kind of the knowledge elements where we're teaching you the new learning. Where on there it shows it as a virtual live instructor-led teaching session. Those are typically kind of half-day events, so they're kind of 3 to 4 hours depending on the module, and you'll know the schedule for those up front if you choose to come on the program, and you'll be able to get that confirmed with your line manager and kind of signed off. And then we assign you a data mentor and a learning success coach who are going to really give you all that support that you need to be successful on the program. And again, you just put those meetings with them, that suits your diary. And all the other stuff you kind of do around your busy day. So the only fixed element are those half-day workshops, which will happen typically every week or every other week, depending on the program that you kind of come onto. So it's a really flexible program. You're going to get your apprenticeship, you're going to get your certificate from Cambridge Spark, and of course you're going to get your Edward Jenner leadership program. If you haven't already done it, then you've got the opportunity to kind of do that as well. And it's it's a really good program that fits absolutely spot on with the work that you do as project managers and kind of business analysts within the organisation. Abby, I don't know if you're keeping an eye on the chat. I probably should have said that at the outset. If people have got any questions, feel free to use the chat facility, or indeed, if you want to put up your hand if you've got a kind of a relevant question. Is there anything in there at the moment, Abby, before I kind of go on?
Yeah, there's been a few. Sorry, was that someone asking the question? No? Okay, cool. Yeah, there's been a few so far. I've been answering them as I've come along. One person, Sanjeet, was asking how long the cohort or the apprenticeship takes, but as you've explained here, 14 months plus the endpoint assessment for the level 4s, and obviously different for some of our other programs. I have had another question here from Ceramicon. This is more personalised. What we can do here is we can get you in touch with either Richard after the webinar or with one of our team to talk through your skills and abilities in more detail to see whether this is the right program for you. So I'll send across emails from there. Otherwise, I've just had a question come through from Rose. Is it acceptable to do this in your own time if not employed, 37.5 hours a week? So Richard, if you want to answer that.
Yeah, no, the way the short answer to that is no, because the way that apprenticeships are funded, every NHS trust has a pot of money that's called the apprenticeship levy. So for you as an individual, there's no cost at all. Your trust or your CCG or whatever part of the NHS you work for will basically fund this for you. And that's the way that apprenticeships work. So you do need to be in employment. It's one of the funding rules and criteria that the Institute for Apprenticeships is kind of set out. So unfortunately, it's not something you can directly fund yourself as an individual. We're not allowed to take money from individuals. It has to be your organisation that pays for it. That's the way that it kind of works. If you are employed by a part of the NHS, then they will be able to fund it for you rather than you as an individual having to pay it. So it's great that your organisation is investing in your skills and your career, because these programs are deliberately structured in that particular fashion. And yes, Abby's absolutely spot on. So if anybody wants an individual call with me at a later date to determine which program where they would be most suitable for, then obviously I'll be delighted to do that. We obviously have mechanisms, we call it kind of a skill scan, to assess your needs and your particular skill set and what will be right for your development. If I move on to the other program, similar length, 14 months, with the 2 to 3 month endpoint assessment. This one is, I would say, more technical. So it's for people who use data pretty much certainly on a day-to-day basis, I would have said. We do have people, for example, in our February cohort, we had 8 people join from NHSX it's now part of NHS E&I, but was NHSX then. 8 brand new people, I think 6 of them were graduates and 2 of them were school leavers with A-levels, joined the programme, straight into the NHS, straight onto the apprenticeship, never coded before, and we're basically teaching them how to code using Python and Pandas and SQL, and how to data visualize using Power BI and Tableau and other programs like that to really create automated reporting methodologies to improve the process, as I said earlier, in terms of the way that they both access but also deliver data and deliver reports back up through their organisation. And again, the curriculum, I'm not going to go through every line, but the curriculum on the right hand side, you can see there, much more technical. So it is for people that probably have that mathematical or statistical type of bias, that use data on a day-to-day basis, but just want to be more efficient in the way that they're using data, getting those insights, getting those more informed decisions. You can see at the bottom we've got some stretch and learn modules that would help the individual kind of progress on it. Some gentle introductions to our level 7 programs, so the data science and AI for those that are serious about their career as a data specialist. There's a couple of fun activities in this particular module. So we do a 2-day practical hackathon where we break people into small groups and give them a real life problem to solve using the skills they've learned over the life of the program. They're with like-minded individuals from other parts of the NHS. So we give you data sets that kind of would look like the sort of data sets you probably use on a day-to-day basis. And we get really great feedback from that particular module. It's a 2-day event that we facilitate, and it's kind of a lot of fun. You can also see at the bottom there that we, through our partnership with Microsoft, so we're accredited through Microsoft, you could additionally get a couple of Microsoft certifications, which are the analyzing data with Microsoft Power BI and the Azure fundamentals qualifications. So there's 2 additional Microsoft certifications that you would get on top of your level 4 data analyst apprenticeship and your Cambridge Spark certificate as well. We haven't embedded the NHS leadership Edward Jenner qualification within this particular apprenticeship because it is quite technical and quite full on. But if somebody wanted to do that, then we're perfectly able to add that in for people that wanted to have the value of doing the Edward Jenner as well. But this one's a little bit more kind of technical compared to the previous apprenticeship, the digital development lead that I showed you. But nevertheless, this may suit some of you out there in the world of project management who are looking to improve your skills in that particular area. Again, I'll just pause before I move on, Abby, just to see if any more questions are coming.
Yes, I believe Rose wanted to add to her initial question about the if she worked reduced hours. She works 4 days a week. Would she be able to do it in her own time, or would it have to be during her work time? Okay, so if you kind of, I'm guessing 4 days is probably going to be 28, 30 hours, something like that, I would imagine. We have other colleagues on programme that do it. The workshops are on set days of the week, so obviously it would depend, Rose, which day you're not working, if that makes sense, obviously in a Monday to Friday environment in terms of whether the workshop fell on that particular day or not. Different programs have different days that we deliver the training. I'm not going to pretend that you won't do things in your own time, because of course you will. All of us that are on a program will, if you're keen and you're hungry to learn, you'll put in time over and above
what you do during your kind of working day. But the principle of an apprenticeship is that it is a work-based qualification. You know, your organisation is going to get the return on investment, the value of you doing it. But if some of the learning, you know, the system you might have seen on here under delivery, you can see the third bullet point talks about educate.ai. That is our platform. It's been specifically built to teach people how to become data scientists and how to code in Python in this particular instance. All of the workshops you'd attend are recorded, Rose. So if for some reason you miss one, you're going to have the ability to play it back. And even if you attended in person, then you know, if you're like me, you're a reflective learner, you can play it back and go over the bits that you want to kind of refresh your memory on. So there is ability to do stuff in your own time, Rose, but the bulk of the program is meant to be delivered during kind of the working day. But as I said, the only bit that's actually fixed that you need to attend during working hours is the workshops. Everything else you build around your working day and you know, your kind of your busy home life. So hopefully that kind of answers the question for Rose a little bit more detail, and apologies if I understood the question in the first place. Okay, if I move on, so we're very, very big at CambridgeSpark in terms of you having a great learner experience. So just want to talk a little bit how we're going to support you. Mike mentioned it earlier. It's you know, literally from day one, you're going to get the support from Project Futures and from CambridgeSpark to make sure you have a great experience on the program. So if I just we all learn in different ways, yeah. So we try and cover all of the bases in terms of what we call our experiential learning process. So I've just mentioned the workshops, and as I said earlier, those are typically 3 to 4 hour events. There'll be programs up front, you know, whether it be a morning or an afternoon session on different days of the Monday to Friday kind of working week, and you'll know your schedule right from the outset. So that's all part of the new knowledge gathering. So an apprenticeship is made up of knowledge, skills and behaviour. So you learn some new knowledge, you hone those skills, and you kind of improve your communication and team working and project management skills as well through the behaviours that you display in your day-to-day job. The other new learning for those that want to do it is obviously you know, an optional part of the programme, but it's there. And if you haven't done it, I'd encourage you to do it. Is the Edward Jenner NHS Leadership Programme, which is kind of the programme, one of the 4 that the NHS Leadership Academy offer, that is very much targeted at kind of new leaders, whether that be leaders of people or in your case, potentially leaders of projects. So once you've learned some stuff, you then want to practice your skills. So we provide you with this purpose-built system, educate.ai. And the beauty of educate.ai is that it's got an artificial intelligence system built into the back of it. So when you write some code or you do some practice in the system, it's intelligent enough to know to give you instant feedback in terms of whether you're doing it right, whether there's things you can do a little bit better, some improvements you can make, and so on and so forth. And I was talking to a learner recently who's on our level 7 program, but had done a level 4 program with another provider. And he was sharing his experience of how with the other provider, he would kind of do some practice, and then he'd have to send it off to the provider for them to mark and provide him with feedback. And sometimes that could be a number of days. And in a couple of instances, he said it was a week to 2 weeks before he kind of got any feedback. Of course, by the time he gets the feedback, you know, he's in a different place. You know, he's got to try to remember what he was doing 2 weeks ago when he was doing the assignment, and his head was in a different place. And he said the beauty of educate.ai is if he's put 2 or 3 hours aside to do his practice, you know, he's able to completely immerse himself in the process and actually get better as he's kind of doing it. And the beauty of our system is that there's no software you have to download. You literally just access it on a browser. So there's going to be no firewall or IT implications for you within your trust. Because it's on a browser, back to Rose's point, you can access it 24/7. So in Rose's case, if she wanted to do some additional learning in her own time in the evenings or at weekends, and you've got the abilities to do that. Because we're so passionate as an organisation about helping you to embed what you're learning in the system in your day-to-day job, not only do you have the access to the system for the length of your apprenticeship, we also give you an additional 6 months access to the system after you've achieved the qualification. Because, you know, there will be bits that you probably use on a day-to-day basis, and there might be other bits you only kind of touch upon occasionally, and therefore it's brilliant for you to be able to go back and perhaps redo the assignment or rewatch the lecture that you attended to refresh your skills and your memories. So we're very keen at you kind of getting that that value out of the learning that we're providing. So you've experimented, you practice in a safe environment. It's a bit like a I don't know, Microsoft Sandbox type environments, I guess. You're kind of practicing in a safe environment, and then you kind of need to apply it. So the skills you've learned through attending the workshops and practicing through our Educate platform, you're then going to apply in your real data sets in your day-to-day job. So whether that be building automated reports or augmenting what you're doing at the moment, or getting better value out of Excel, or you know, better reporting using Power BI and Tableau, whatever it might be that you're looking to do, you will apply that learning in work-based projects. So your bit of the NHS and associated healthcare community is going to get that return on investment, is going to see the value of you attending the training. The final thing is a reflection and conceptualization, and that's where we provide you with two people actually. We're fairly unique as a training provider. We think data is such a specialist area that we provide you not only with what we call a data mentor, who's a technical expert. I like to think of them for you almost as a free consultant. They're going to help you apply what you've learned into your day-to-day job. They're going to help you get the value out of the work-based projects. They're also going to help you build what's called a portfolio of evidence, which is what you need to build to present to the awarding body, who are going to give you your grade at the end of it. So they're a technical person. But we also like to provide you what we call a learning success coach. You know, I many moons ago, I did a similar type of program. It happened to be in HR. I did my CIPD through this type of methodology. And I'll be honest, there were times over that period when my kind of motivation dipped a bit. I had 2 young children at the time, and you know, your life kind of gets in the way. So the purpose of the learning support coach is there to be, you know, a professional coach to support you, to motivate you, to help you. We also are obliged to do what are called tripartite kind of reviews with your line manager, and the learning success coach will facilitate those with you and your line manager and make sure that you're getting the opportunity to have access to the relevant projects that you need to do, and access to the relevant data sets you need to do to be able to you know, build your portfolio, as I said earlier, to present back to the awarding body. This is a quick snapshot for anybody that's interested. If you're a particularly technical person, you'd like to you know, have a look at educate.ai. You can see there's the address at the bottom there. You can go on and have a quick look at it. But anybody wants a one-to-one call with me and they'd like to have a look at the system, then you're able to do it. I'm not a gamer myself, but it's kind of a really fun environment. It's kind of gamified in the way that gives you feedback, and you get your own personalized dashboard. But all of the workshops are stored on here. All of the modules that you need to do are in here. All of the assignments you need to do in here. And again, there are some mandatory ones and some stretch and challenge for those of you who are keen to get a merit or distinction grade. We give that opportunity to do it. There's built-in Jupyter notebooks, so you can take your own notes. There's videos, there's further reading. And there's also a peer-to-peer learning element we call our knowledge bank. You know, we're very big on you learning from each other as well as learning from us. So there's that ability for you to kind of post queries and questions, and other colleagues, whether it be one of our data mentors, but more often your other colleagues on the apprenticeship will answer that and help you build up your knowledge and give it that kind of academic rigor. You would have seen in the data analyst, I talked about the hackathon, the 2-day event, which is really fun. The other thing that we do for all of our apprentices is a monthly guest speaker event. So we've had people from all sorts of organisations such as British Airways and Meta and Google and a hedge fund and Columbia University, all talking about how they apply data science and data analytical skills in their day-to-day job. So we're kind of giving you that opportunity to interact with people working in industry, to enhance your skills and learn from other people. I've kind of covered that really. You know, so you've got the Educate system in terms of the immediate personal feedback. You have a faculty of tutors that teach the lectures, the workshops, if you will, the 3 to 4 hour sessions that I said, the half-day events that you will attend to get your new knowledge. Those are interactive sessions. You will obviously engage over Microsoft Teams. So again, no travel. Engage with the tutor. Your data mentors will be there in those sessions with you, helping you answer any questions you might have. And I was, repeating myself, but all of those sessions are recorded, so you're not going to miss out on any of those things. And then we give you the professional coach and the data mentor to support you as well. I'm just going to conclude, and I don't know whether you would be good enough to put the link, if you haven't already, Abby, in the chat facility, but Cambridge Spark runs what we call cohorts. So there are plenty of opportunities to join Cambridge Spark, to join these programs throughout the year. It's not a once a year opportunity. We're not like a university in that sense. Our next cohort we're building is July. We still have spaces available if you're interested in either of those programs. We still have spaces available to join a cohort that kicks off at the end of July. We do have a registration process. There is a kind of a simple form that we ask you to fill in to reserve your place. And the deadline to getting that back is the 30th of June. I would encourage you to have a conversation with your line manager who haven't already done so, just to make sure that they're supportive of it, because obviously we need to make sure that your trust is going to be able to give you the opportunity to attend the programme. But the next opportunity to say is July. After that, if July doesn't quite work for you, the next cohort is in September, and then in November, and then back round to February 2023. So they're every couple of months in essence, but your next opportunity is right here, right now, starting at the end of July with the registration cut off at the end of June. If you would be good enough to complete the registration form, I think that the link is obviously in this slide deck that we can share, but I think, Abby, you were going to put the link in the chat facility as well.
Yeah, I've just done that.
Fantastic, thank you very much indeed. So I'm conscious we're kind of pretty much at the time factor that people gave us, but are there any final questions that either Mike or myself can answer before we kind of conclude and let you get on with your busy day jobs?
I think we're fine on questions now. I believe Mike had to run at 1:45, so I guess if there's any further questions anybody wants to ask, happily send them through or email them across, and we'll get you across to the right people. I'll drop our email addresses in as well.
Thank you. Well, it just leads. Thank you, Christine, for facilitating. I'm sure you'll get the recording and can obviously share that with people that are interested in taking it. Thank you to everybody for attending. I hope it was interesting and useful. The slide deck, as I say, the recordings could be made available to everybody. But thank you so much for your engagement. Enjoy the sunshine. It's certainly lovely and sunny where I am in Oxfordshire today, so I hope it is with you wherever you are in the country. Have a great rest of the day, and we hope to see some of you or your colleagues on programme at some point in the future. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.